Hello everyone, welcome to Manika IS. Let us begin our discussion with respect to daily news analysis. Let's take up the very first topic, which is multidimensional poverty. So Indian economy is looking in a very good shape as per the estimates. So if we see the data which is released by NSO, it says as per the advanced estimates, Indian economy growth is going to be 7.3% in 2023-2024. Also, the IMF is saying that the Indian economy is expected to outgrow all its peer in G20. So it's going to be the best performing country out of the G20 countries. Okay. Now, what are the reason? What are the good signals for the economy? So the very first reason it says is that the Sensex is booming, and for the very first time it has crossed a mark of 72,000. If we talk about the foreign exchange reserves, they have crossed $620 billion in December 2023. Also, if we talk about the inflation in the Indian market, inflation is within the limit which is being set by RBI, that is 4 plus minus 2%. That means if inflation in the economy is ranging somewhere between 2 to 6%, it is healthy for Indian economy, and it's saying that it has been able to contain the inflation rightly. So it is MPC, that is Monetary Policy Committee of RBI, which takes care of the inflation. Now let us see how does this growth is impacting the poverty in India. Okay. Now if we see that what is the definition of poverty, how do you define that one individual is poor or not? So World Bank has given its definition. It says that if a person is earning more than $2.515 per day, that approximately around 200 rupees in India, per capita, as per 2017 purchasing power parity, if you take the prices of 2017, and if a person is earning around $2.15 per day, that person is outside the poverty line, and if it is earning less than that, that is in the poverty. Okay. Now let's see the comparison between the phase before 2014 and after 2014. So if you see between 1917 to 2004, if you see this particular phase, what has happened is Indian headcount poverty level declined from 63% approximately to 40%. So it came from 64 to 40%. This was the decline. If we talk about headcount poverty, headcount poverty means percentage of poverty which is on percentage of people vis-a-vis the total population which are under the poverty, that is headcount poverty. And if you see the absolute number, it says the people living in extreme poverty increased from 411 million to 453 million. And why so? Due to rise in population. So if I put it very precisely, take an example. Say, for example, today the population of a particular area is 100 and the people living in poverty are 25. That means the headcount poverty, that is the percentage of poverty, will be 25%. And if tomorrow the population increased to 200 and the percentage of people and the people living in the poverty are 40. Okay. So the percentage of population which is living in poverty is 20%. So although the headcount poverty has decreased because the population has increased from 25% to 20%, the absolute number of people who are living in the poverty increased from 25 to 40. Now, this is the difference when we are talking about headcount poverty and the total absolute number of people in the poverty. So that's why we see, although the headcount poverty decreased, but the absolute number of people living in poverty increased. Okay, this is what it meant to say. Now, if you see during 2014 to 19, poverty fell but at a declining rate. Now, what does that mean? That means if this is, say, 1 year, this is second year, and this is third year. So, if in this first year poverty decreased by 2%, in the upcoming year the poverty decreased by 1.5%. In this year it decreased by 1%. This is an hypothetical example. It has nothing to do with the content here, but this is an hypothetical example. That means although the poverty is declining, but the rate at which is decreasing, it is also less. Okay. in subsequent years. So it says that poverty fell from approximately 20% in 2014-15 to 11% in 2018 and 19. That is at a rate of 1.72% per year. Okay. Now, it was till 2019, and from 2019-20 to 2023-24, it declined approximately at a negligible rate of 0.3%. And why so? Because we know into 2020 we were hit by COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, and the global economy also faced enormous amount of issue with, along with COVID-19, was Russia Ukraine war. Also global economic slowdown. So these are the reasons that the rate of poverty at which is declining reduced. Okay, in 2023 India had the highest number of people, which is 160 million, in extreme poverty in this period. 2014 to 2023, India has the highest number of people in 2023 at 160 million in extreme poverty. Into 2018, it was 152 million. So there was a rise of absolute number of people in poverty from 2018 to 2023. Some of it is also attributed to rise in population as well. So now let's see about multidimensional poverty. So the poverty that we discussed so far was basis on the basis of World Bank a set line of economic parameter. But now let us look at the multidimensional poverty. So multidimensional poverty index at the global level is released by UNDP. ठीक है? It is based on three parameters broadly: health, one is your health, then education, and living standard. All have equal weightage, one third, one third, one third, and there are further parameters under these. In health, you have nutrition and child mortality rate. In education, it is based on years of schooling and school attendance. That means they are also considering whether the people are dropping out or not. Okay. Then living standard, cooking fuel, whether they are using the old traditional method of fuel or the present method. Improved sanitation, safe drinking water, electricity is available or not. Flooring, whether it is like proper flooring as we see like marble or wooden, or it's like based on that kacha floor. If you have visited the houses in the rural areas, you will find it is made up of some mud cakes and all. So do you have a proper solid floor? It's based on the traditional methods. And then the assets a person is possessing. On the basis of these 10 parameters, multidimensional poverty index has been released. And according to this, it came down from 55% to 27% between 2005 to 2016. Okay, that means according to MPI, poverty in multidimensional segment has fallen. It has decreased. Okay, so that means approximately 271 million people were moved out of the poverty. At the same time, Niti Aayog also releases its own MPI. This is global release by UNDP, and Niti Aayog also release, but it has 12 indicators, 2 plus 2 in education. Okay, and it says that it dropped from 24% in to 14.96% between 1516 to 1921. So in this period, it decreased from approximately 25% to 15%. There is an overall decrease of 10%, as a result of which 135 million people were lifted out of multidimensional poverty. Okay, so this was about your multidimensional poverty. Now, if we see why there was a decrease when we talk about MPI, it is because you have improvement in schooling, cooking fuel, sanitation. So if you see the government policy of Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, you have ODF. These all policy contributed in improving sanitation, at the same time schooling, okay, and cooking fuel. LPG was given free of cost, and there were also schemes in which you can willingly give up your subsidies on LPG. So these were all the initiative that were taken place, which help in coming bringing down the MPI. Okay, now what is the need? What can you do further to elevate people out of poverty? You need to address income poverty. So we have seen that although we have able to bring down the MPI, but at the same time, the income level is a problem. Okay, so we need to increase the income, and we need to provide employment opportunity. In rural areas, you need to bring skill development so that people who are working in agriculture can, there is a sort of disguised unemployment in agriculture. Say for example, if there are 5 people needed in an agriculture field, there are 10 people who are working. So you can actually bring those 5 people out of agriculture and move them to the cities and do some productive work in which they can help in improving the economy of the house as well as the country. Okay, these are the things that need to be looked upon. Now let's move to the next article. Voice cloning through artificial intelligence. So why are we seeing this in news? So first of all, we have we have seen that artificial intelligence as a tool is a very potent tool to create something or to destroy something as well. Okay, it has its own benefit, or it's a boon and a bane as well. Okay, so this is a part which comes under generative AI. Using, what does that mean? Using AI, you can generate any sort of text, any sort of images, any sort of pictures, movies, etc. Now that is generative AI. Now what is happening is, if the voice cloning was introduced to have some usage in entertainment industry or something like that. However, in the recent time, it has been used by fraudsters to scam people. Okay, it has been widely used in scams, and it is further expected to grow. Okay, so if you see the examples globally, these are the global example. In April, a family living in US was threatened to pay a ransom for a fake kidnapping call. Also, it is for ransomware also, and also it has been used to spread hatred and disinformation. So another actress, Emma Watson, was seen reading out a portion of Mein Kampf, which is a book by Hitler, his autobiography. Now that is the book, it was seen to spread sort of hatred. Now also there was some political turmoil which took place because of this voice cloning. Now if you see in India, if you see this kind of frauds in India, so India is the largest and the biggest target of these voice cloning related scams. If you see this report, which is artificial imposter reports, it says that when they surveyed, 47% of the surveyed Indians were either themselves fell prey to this voice related scams, or they knew somebody in family or friends who fell prey to that. However, if you see the global average, it is only 25% of people who felt the same. So, if the global average is 25%, in India, this related scams are 46%. That is approximately double of it. Okay. So, if you see, India topped the list with the maximum number of victims of the AI voice scams. Okay, in absolute number also, India topped. For example, if you see, these are Indian examples. In December in Lucknow, a resident fell prey to cyber attack that used to AI to impersonate the voice of a victim relative, requesting the person substantial amount through UPI. Okay. In another case in Haryana, the person was asked a cloning voice of a friend that he is in dire need of money due to an accident. So these are some of the examples which took place in India itself. And if you see, why is it so that India are targeting India? So if you see, according to a McAfee, which is a report, it says that 66% of Indian says that they will respond to a voice call or a phone call that appear to be coming from a friend, family members. If it is coming from parent, 46% said that they will agree to it, they will respond to it. Spouse 34% and child 12%. That means they are tapping on the sentiments of Indians. Okay. Now, report also stated that they claim that the center had been robbed, involved in a car accident. If they say ki the car accident 69%, they have lost their phone or wallet 65%, financial aid while traveling abroad is 62%, were the most of effective excuses. These were the excuses which were given. So, and this is not only with respect to UPSC, this is also with respect to the entire India. I would like them to know that these are the kind of scams which are going on. People are using your sentiments to fool you. So, if at all you come across any sort of conversation, any sort of phone call from anybody claiming that you are either their children or your family or your friends, that they are in need of money due to some accident or maybe kidnapping or any sort of excuses like this, that they have lost their phone or they are traveling abroad, please ensure that you double check before giving them your money, which is very hardened. And always, if you face any issue, please lodge your complaint in the cyber cell, because these are the kind of frauds which are going on. So please be very cautious and be very careful. The people like these are tapping on your sentiments to take away your money from yourself. Okay. So it also said that 86% of people were prone to sharing their voice data online or via voice notes at least once a week, which has made their tools potent. So another thing that you need to know is how they are cloning your voices. So you might come across the phone call where they are even making you hear the voices of your loved ones or your relatives or your friends. They are using somehow the audio messages that you send to the people. They are using those voices, and they are making audio clips, generative audio clips as per their desires using that voice, and they are making you hear that. So even if they claim that they know, please ensure that you cross check before you send any amount to them. Okay, this is how they are going to fool you. So be very careful, and if possible, avoid sending audio notes as well. Now, uh, if now see the applications which can be used. These are the applications morph, resemble, speechify, which are the most commonly used for such uh, voice generation. Another important is 11 Labs, which was founded by Google and Plantier employees. It also released a product, AI dubbing, which can translate long speeches also into 20 different languages. Further, there are also the big tech firms which are involved. Matlab, they are not specifically involved in these scams, but they are involved in creating these generative tools. And Meta has launched Seamless M40, which can understand approximately 100 languages. Similarly, Apple has also given a cloning feature. So these are the features which are very useful if you see with respect to people who have degenerative disease, because this is for their beneficial, but some people are using it to scam others. So be very careful about that. Also, Chat GPT has come across as a very responsible platform. It has also released the cloning feature, but it has been careful to partner with specific parties so that they could prevent any illegal use of such. YouTube has also announced Dream Track, which is again with only 100 creators, in order to regulate the illegal use of such tools. Now let's see the steps that can be taken. So FTC has released, that is US Federal Trade Commission has launched a voice cloning challenge, which is asking people that what advice that they can give to to contain this spread. Also, I would suggest the another thing is awareing people, that is the must. Further regulations can be brought in if you talk about such platforms like Chat GPT and YouTube are doing. If you can regulate this space also, that will also be helpful. Further, it's also saying that the segment is expected to grow exponentially. At present, as per a remote report by Market US, that global market of such application is $1.2 billion dollars. However, it is expected to grow by $5 billion dollars in 2032. So this is again a very potential space which can be used for very useful techniques. However, it is a potential tool of scams and frauds as well. So which is expected to grow. So awareness and regulation are the two key things that can be done. Now let us move to the next topic. So you must have seen in news that there is a sort of campaign which is going on with respect to boycott Maldives after a derogatory remark which was made by a Maldivian minister against India uh, post the visit of PM Modi to Lakshadweep Island, where India is trying to boost tourism in Lakshadweep. Okay, so in that regard, it became very important for you to know the geography of Lakshadweep vis-a-vis Maldives. Okay, so let us understand the geography of these two places. So if you see this particular map, this is your Lakshadweep. These are Lakshadweep Islands, and this is your Maldives. So if you see the extent, longitudinal extent, so it is your 8-degree north to your 14-degree north, and it lies between 7-degree north to the south of equator. And the only atoll which is lying, only island of the Maldives which is lying south of the equator is Adu Atoll. Okay. And both of these are separated to each other by a 8 degrees channel. Okay. Now, what do we mean when we say channel? Channel is a mass of body, which is a mass of water mass, which is separating two land masses. So, if there is this water, stream of water, which is separating two land masses, and this stream of water is known as channel. Okay, and the northernmost island of Lakshadweep is Chetlan, and southernmost is Kalpeni. Karavati, Agati, and Bangaram are the most important island of Lakshadweep, along with the others. So this was about the geography, and you must know that all these islands are largely coral islands. So if we talk about Maldives, most of all of them are atolls, and atoll is a kind of coral only that we'll discuss going for further. And if you see Lakshadweep, 12 are atolls and 3 to 4 are reefs. And let's see what are they. What does the term implies? So before we discuss, you please read this question and try to solve this question. So the very first statement says atoll separated from shore by a water mass. Second, fringing reef circular with an open lagoon in the center. Third, barrier reef grow directly out of the shore. How many pairs are correctly matched? Only one, only two, only three, and none. All three and none. Okay, so I would like you to pause for a little and see this, try and answer this question before we go further. Now, the very first thing is, what are corals? Corals are a kind of symbiotic relationship between coral polyps, which are carbonate structures, with your zooxanthellae, which is a kind of algae. Now, there are three types. Coral reefs are basically, and the reefs which are made of these corals are known as your coral reefs. So, what there are three types. One is your atoll. Let's understand atoll for the very first. Atoll is if your this is your reef. The entire outer structure is made up of your corals, and in between you have a lagoon. See this diagram. You have this reef, and then in between you have a lagoon, which, and on the outer side in the sea, this reef are separating this lagoon with the sea. Now this kind of structure is generally referred to as atoll. It is either circular or oval in shape. Okay, now if you see barrier reef and fringing reef, so let us see the fringing reef. This is your land, and just attaching to land is your reef. Such kind of structure are known as fringing reef. And if you have anything in between the land and the reef, generally it is a lagoon. It is referred to as a barrier reef. So, how do you remember that? See, understand why do we call it a barrier reef? Barrier because there is something which is coming between the land and the reef. There is something which is acting as a barrier in between. So, that's why it is called a barrier reef. And why do are we calling it a fringing reef? So, if you know in English, in the normal sense, we use fringes for something which is just attached to the uh, a piece of a cloth or a paper. The cuttings of something is referred to as fringes. So if there is reef which is attached to a land, that is why it is called a fringing reef. So these are the three kind of reef. So using this information, let us try to solve the question. So the very first statement, which is saying atoll separate from shore by a water mass. Separated from shore by a water mass is not an atoll, it is a barrier reef. Okay. Fringing reef circular with an open lagoon in the center. No, this is not a fringing reef, this is an atoll. And barrier reef grow directly out of the shore. No, this is a fringing reef, this is not a barrier reef. So the answer is D, none. Okay. So this was it for today.